Welcome. I'm Dr. Patrice Berry, licensed psychologist, and we are going to hop right into today's reaction. Today, the prosecution started their rebuttal process, and the first witness that they called was Ronnie Crosby. And so the prosecution has done their part, and now the defense is cross-examining him, and this part comes up. Let's watch.
So let's talk a little bit about what you heard from Alec the night of June 7th. You would agree with me that, well, let's ask it this way. What your practice is primarily personal injury, is that correct?
It is.
Catastrophic injuries.
Well, I handle a lot of catastrophic injury cases.
Cases, for instance, where a husband and wife are riding down the road and hit by a tractor trailer. And by way of example, maybe you could give me something more specific. Husband's killed, wife's severely injured. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, is it your experience in people who undergo, maybe they're not hurt, but their loved one is hurt, maybe killed, in that situation, that's a traumatic experience for the surviving person, correct?
Harpootlian is trying to bring in the role of trauma, potentially, in somebody's responses or what they might say after the fact.
To see their loved one killed?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you sit down with those folks and begin to recount with them what happened that night, oftentimes, I do a little work like you do, oftentimes those folks misremember or get times wrong, or because they went through this very traumatic.
He's trying to explain why Alec might have lied about not being at the kennels when he would, and trying to blame it on trauma. Watch his response.
Experience, and the closer to that experience, the more likely they are to get some things wrong. Times, for instance. Is that your experience?
They can, but I also find that people who have been involved in traumatic experiences try to be very accurate with the details because they know it's important to me representing them.
And typically, you don't go out to the scene of the crime and interview, or the scene of the accident and interview them that night, do you? Typically?
Well, typically you don't because you don't know it. It's happened.
Sometimes in the old days they used to do that, but they don't do that anymore, right?
That would be very rare.
So you're seeing them in your office weeks later?
It can be days, can be weeks.
Okay. And in that atmosphere, it's a little more conducive to them being as accurate as possible, right?
It is, but oftentimes we also have the benefit of recorded interviews when there's a catastrophic injury. Typically, the highway patrol will try to interview people as quickly as they can, and they will. We oftentimes have it on video off a dash cam or sometimes body cam, but and a lot of times written statements.
And written statements from witnesses who saw it happen.
Correct.
And so when you interview those people, they have the benefit of reviewing whatever you have to help them get a better recollection of what happened, correct?
That's
Once again, he's trying to explain, he's trying to throw into the jury how Alec might have lied about where he was and the last time that he saw Maggie and Paul.
correct.
Okay. So the instance you're talking about where Alec told you he turned him over before he made the 911 call, whatever it was, I'm not quite sure. Before, I think is what you said. If that would be inconsistent with something he says later on, after having reviewed other people's statements, looking at video, that would not be unusual in your business. I think you just said it would not be unusual, correct? Strike that.
You're trying to take me somewhere that you probably don't want to.
Oh, no, I think I want to.
Answer the question.
Withdraw the question. Let me ask you
This is where it starts to get really fiery between the two of them.
this question. Maybe let's get to the meat of matter here. Have you had to come out of pocket to pay back the money he stole?
Yes, and if you,
How much?
I,
Don't tell me you don't know.
well, we're still counting, Mr. Harpootlian.
Well, how much have you paid so far?
We have had to borrow millions to pay back.
No, how
his
much have you
institution.
had to come out of pocket?
Well, when you borrow it, you got to pay it back, and I couldn't tell you how much has exactly been paid back as of we sit here today. But
$10
yes,
million.
and if you're implying that I would come in here and somehow shade truth in any way because of that, I would take high offense with that, Mr.
I'm not concerned
Harpootlian.
about your high offense. Are you angry at him for stealing your money?
I have no feeling one way or the
You
other.
don't have any feeling about Alec Murdaugh betraying you and stealing your money.
And so Harpootlian is trying to make him come across as angry, and that the testimony he's giving is somehow inaccurate, that has some motivation to say this against Alec. And Ronnie Crosby is very offended. You can see that he's starting to get upset about it, and then Harpootlian's going to try to imply that that's because of the money or his feelings toward Alec, and not that Ronnie Crosby is upset with Harpootlian within this moment. Let's watch.
I admire you. I don't know that I could look beyond that.
Objection, Your Honor. It's sustained. It's not a question. The jury is to disregard the argument.
You are not angry with Alec Murdaugh?
I have had anger with him, extreme anger, Mr. Harpootlian, because of what he did to my law firm, my partners, my client, his clients, our clients, what he did to his family, what he's did to so many people. Yes, I experienced a lot of anger, but you can't walk around with anger. You have to find a way to deal with it and move forward. And I have done that. And if you
The fact that he's talking about how to move through anger and how he's trying to be neutral in this situation, we are going to talk about forgiveness. So that is a video. I have an old video on it, but I want to go into it a little bit more, what it is and what it's not, and how betrayal and offense, how that can really impact a person. And so let's watch this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's go.
suggest, you are dead wrong if you think I've come in here and told this jury something because of money. When we're talking about two people who were brutally murdered, then you're headed in the wrong direction.
Do you think he did it?
I don't have an opinion. I don't have the benefit of the materials you have.
And I really value that he didn't give his opinion on this. And honestly, for me watching, I don't know what that jury is going to decide. The jury, hopefully, because they're not supposed to have watched and heard some of the other commentary, some of the things that haven't come into the trial, because there is a lot more that hasn't even come up here, that has been discussed other places. And so, because Harpootlian, that question could have went in the wrong way for him. But I really value Ronnie Crosby's integrity, and I hope that comes through.
Well, let me ask you this. You're angry with him, stole millions of dollars from your firm. You admit your firm's not even called the Murdaugh firm anymore, right?
And if you saw, he took a breath. He is trying to manage his emotions. And when you're on the stand, whoever you're testifying for, the other side is going to try to get you emotional, because when you're in your emotions, you're not thinking, and you might say something, you might react in a way that you're not otherwise intending to. I think that Ronnie Crosby handled himself extremely well in this situation, because this is a difficult place to be, and Harpootlian is pressing his buttons on purpose. This is my reaction, my response. This is my thoughts on this, but it does look like he's trying to get this reaction.
It is not. I don't admit that I'm angry right now. I told you I've gotten away from that. I don't have any feelings, because
the hard part about him saying that part is you can see the feelings that he's expressing, but he's directing that towards Harpootlian. And I do think he's genuinely saying, I'm not angry about the situation anymore, but that he is angry in this moment about being in this situation, being asked these questions.
you can't walk around with anger. I have been very, very angry about it because of what he's done. And he did it in a very callous way, a very deceitful way.
And you carry no, I'm sorry. Maybe I just saw some anger there. Were you angry just a moment ago?
No, you keep trying to push a question and don't want to accept my answer, which is what it is.
That you've just given your Zen, your Nirvana, your whatever the.
Your Honor, objection.
Are you
Mr. Harpootlian,
forgiving him?
I came to the scene of these murders to support my partner. I was there. I saw things that hadn't even been talked about in this courtroom. I was there. I love Paul very much. I thought I knew who Alec was. I did not. And it's hard to you might not understand, but it's hard to walk around with anger, and hard to even walk around with it when it's with somebody who you didn't know and didn't understand. So you might have be that way, but you know, I've got to function. I've got a family. I got to move on with life.
Were you aware that he went to rehab in 2017?
I was not,
Really?
other than what was said by Alec in this courtroom.
You never were aware he had a drug problem.
And once again, Harpootlian is trying to blame it on the drugs and blame it on this. Based on all of these behaviors, I don't know that one addiction explains everything. It might have played a role, and I will link in the comments and in the description. I did a video talking about the role of power, privilege, addiction, narcissism, and family roles within this trial, within this case, just based on my observations. I can't diagnose, I can't do all these things. I won't say whether I think he did it or not. I'm not on the jury pool. I honestly struggle to see if this jury is going to be able to come to any type of decision. 12 people, are they going to be able to agree on this? But let's finish this part up.
I was unaware.
Okay. Sort of.
And if I would have been known, I would have tried to help him.
You indicated that he could be emotional in trying a case, correct?
He could be. He was theatric, much like.
That came up when the prosecution called him up asking about Alec's responses, and he used a word. He used theatrical. That was because I think the prosecution is trying to say that Alec can turn his emotions on and off, and that this is an act, that he's playing the role of a grieving father and husband, but that under there's this sinister thing. Some of his emotions, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, even on the video, during one of the law enforcement videos, where he is going through having all these emotions and then like stops and greets somebody and then goes right back to those emotions. That makes me go, I don't know about that, but this is what Harpootlian is referring to in this moment.
His father and grandfather had a courtroom theatrics, and he could be emotional.
Any of your other partners that way? Johnny Parker?
No, Johnny's quite the opposite. Johnny's very
Laconic, I believe, is the best way to describe it.
he doesn't show emotion.
Nobody else in your firm is theatric or emotional?
Not to Alec's level.
You don't know any other lawyers in the state that go to that level?
You're asking me a question right now. I don't know. You might yourself. I don't know. I don't know what other lawyers do. I'm usually trying cases against defense attorneys, so I don't get to see plaintiffs' lawyers anymore.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for. Well, let me ask you one last thing. This Bullware guy that he stole all the money from, Mr. Bullware, remember him?
Yes, I remember.
How much money did you steal from him? Do you remember?
He stole 70-something thousand in June of 2018. Mr. Bulwer died in September, I believe, of 2018, and I believe another 270-something thousand after Mr. Bulwer's death, sometime in around February of 2019.
Have you and your partners paid Mr. Bulwer's estate or his folks back?
Yes, I met with them personally.
Okay. And even though it's cost you your firm and it's cost millions of dollars
It's
to
going
you,
back to that.
you have forgiven him? You bear him no ill
I didn't say I forgave him.
You're just not angry about it anymore.
I said I have no feelings. And I had to work on that, Mr. Harpootlian. When you go through what we've gone through, not only the trauma of losing people we loved in a double homicide, seeing the aftermath, and then learning that someone you worked with for more than 20 years had been stealing throughout a period of time and deceiving us, there's a lot of emotion there. And yes, it was bad in the fall of 2021, and I have found a way to have no feelings. It's not forgiveness. It's just I don't have
You're not
any
angry
feelings.
here today. You're not angry at him at all.
I'm not angry.
Okay.
If I raise my voice, it's only because of the implication that you were trying to
The
make out of it.
implication that you might not want to help him in front of this jury here today because let me finish the question. Because he destroyed your firm. He stole millions of dollars you had to pay back. He deceived you. All that's away and is not influencing your testimony here today at all. If you'd answer.
And he's saying it that way to kind of plant that seed in the jury's mind. Let's finish it.
That yes or no, then you can explain.
All those things happened, and it does not influence my testimony. I take the oath that I just took very seriously. And if you've got any indication that anything I said was inaccurate, I'll be glad to address it with you.
Well, the jury can judge that. Thank you.
The prosecution's going to come back and redirect.
How long did you know Alec?
Since the late 90s.
And knowing what you know now, was he able to look you in your eye and lie convincing to you?
The prosecution has focused on that a lot, the fact that Alec could look people in the eye and lie right to them. And I think what they're trying to plant in the jury's mind is that although he came forward about the one thing, so they're trying to say that he's not being truthful about everything.
Day in and day out?
He did.
And was he able to look juries in the eye and display emotion?
Objection, Your Honor. That is not appropriate redirect.
There are going to be a
And
lot
it's
of
leading.
objections in this.
The objection sustained.
Mr. Harpootlian asked you about some of the things that you have gone through. And is your issue with Mr. Harpootlian's questioning the implication that you would come in and shade things in front of this jury?
Objection, leading.
It was.
What is your concern with Mr. Harpootlian's questioning of you? Can you express that to the jury, please? All that he just went through with you, sitting up on the stand, having to deal with this, what is your problem with what he was trying to say?
Well, I fortunately, to start with, I took an oath to tell the truth. But we as lawyers also have oaths and obligations to a court.
There's an ethics.
And it goes a lot deeper than just that oath. We are bound by rules of professional conduct, ethical rules that I take very seriously as a lawyer. To my knowledge, I enjoy a very good reputation as far as being a person of integrity. And that's what I took issue with, is him attempting, because he cannot impugn my integrity.
That's fair.
Wow. 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 Let me know your thoughts. If you would like me to cover something specific, let me know. I will be doing a follow-up video. I hope to record it either, hopefully by next week, but a video that talks about forgiveness. My dissertation was on forgiveness and aggressive children. And I like talking about what it is and what it's not. And he's at a place where he wants to be neutral. And I think whoever goes through something, that it is their decision how they decide to move forward. And for him, he's moving forward by being neutral. And as a therapist, as a psychologist, as a person, I definitely respect that. And I also have a book, Turning Crisis into Clarity. I have a chapter in there on forgiveness. It's available on Amazon. But wow. I had to stop watching to record this because the live trial is still happening now. If there are major things that I want to react to, I will film that. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day.